coming up next. Stay tuned to learn more about the state of the art in blockchain and cryptocurrency technology. Reimagine 2020.
Hey everyone, my name is Marshall Hayner and I'm CEO and co-founder of Metal. We're a digital bank and payments platform as well as global cryptocurrency exchange.
Hi everyone, I'm Artur, one of your hosts at Reimagine 2020, and with me we have a guest, Marshall Hayner, who's been in the crypto and blockchain space for a significant amount of time, and he's been involved with quite a lot of the projects that we've all heard of, and I'm sure he has a lot more to talk about that.
Hey everyone, hey thanks Artur for having me on the show, and yeah, it's really cool to be here with Mousebelt and inspiring a lot of future entrepreneurs and people that are just getting into blockchain space, and tell a little bit about my story and give some input on what it's like to work in the blockchain industry.
So I guess let's start with that, because I think your journey in this space has definitely been longer than a lot of ours. So maybe you just want to tell us about your sort of how has it been, sort of about your journey in the blockchain or crypto world, and what have you learned?
Yeah, it's been a really long time. I've been dabbling for a little over 10 years now, and I was kind of one of those fortunate early people to discover Bitcoin just by stumbling upon it in 2009, and more recently building my company Metal here in San Francisco, and it's been a wild journey working in fintech and blockchain for the past 8 years. When I started, there was nothing. There were no venture investments. People would laugh at you. It was the very early days of crypto. There were no really large exchanges. Mt. Gox and BTC, Bitstamp were kind of the places to be. And then now today, you have major top banks entering the space. You have PayPal, MasterCard, you name it. I think MasterCard's a partner here to Mousebelt. Now they have their own blockchain. Facebook has their own blockchain. So from alpaca socks to MasterCard blockchain, it's been a pretty wild ride. For us as a company, I started 4 years ago in a small incubator here in the Bay Area, and it was just myself. It was just started from my idea about creating kind of like a PayPal for Bitcoin, or easy to use digital bank that was integrated with crypto, and we kind of saw the need for that more and more as people were getting banned from like Wells Fargo accounts or different things. Only recently I saw Wells Fargo tweeted, someone asked, hey, does Metal Pay support Wells Fargo? And Wells Fargo we responded and said, yes, we do. And then Wells Fargo said, no, we don't. So yeah, times are definitely changing. And I can only imagine a few years from now, Wells Fargo coming back online saying, yes, we now support Metal and Proton or Bitcoin deposits or something like that. It's only a few years away. So it's just, I always tell people that are coming into fintech, tech is very hard. Fintech is one of the hardest places to be. And cryptocurrency blockchain, one day is like 10 days. So if you've worked in the space for 1 year, it's like working somewhere for like 10 years. You get enough drama and enough excitement and tech developments in 1 year, then it feels like you've been somewhere for like 10. So if you want a lot of excitement and you want a really challenging space to work in, this is definitely by far one of the hardest and most rewarding in tech.
Definitely, I can't agree more. Tell me, how did you initially sort of land into or find the space?
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story. I was always interested in decentralized tech, always interested in cryptography, and so when I was in high school, I was I was reading Cryptonomicon. I was reading some geeky books, and I got obsessed when I went off to college. I got obsessed with BitTorrent. I just thought it was so cool. It made so much sense. When why download a file from point A to point B when you could download from A to Z all at once to one location? And it blew my mind how it was kind of changing file sharing on the internet. And so I became deeply entrenched in that. I moderated different torrent communities and things like that. And it was really kind of about, it wasn't so much about piracy or sharing files, but it was about creating the library of Alexandria of music or movies. And eventually those things kind of died away for, you know, what we have today now, which is Spotify and Netflix, which are built on a lot of the same infrastructure. But long story short, I was moderating on a forum called what.cd, which is now defunct for several years. And a famous musician, Trent Reznor, came on a thread and said, "Hey, I'm Trent Reznor. I'm my own recording artist. I'm my own music studio, label, everything. And I want to release my music on what.cd, but I don't know how to get paid." And I was a moderator, so I was thinking, okay, I'm going to lock the thread because this is a fake Trent Reznor, is going to scam all of the users. And then I told him, either you have to prove it or I have to delete this. I have to lock this thread. And he said, sure. So he tweets from @TrentReznor, verify my what.cd. And that was the beginning of my journey into Bitcoin. What happened was everybody had different ideas of how Trent could get paid. One guy said, hey, I've got a corporate PayPal account. Everybody pay me and I'll mail Trent a check. No, I don't think that'll work. Lots of different funny and Rube Goldbergian ideas. And towards the end of the thread, somebody said, what about Bitcoin? And, you know, here I am obsessed with BitTorrent. I said, what is Bitcoin? Is that like a BitTorrent for money? I Googled it. I found P2P Foundation. I started getting really excited what I was reading, because a lot of the people that I was seeing posting were people that I was reading when I was in high school from, you know, 10 years earlier, talking about Bcash and encryption and things like that. I was a subscriber to 2600 and cypherpunks and some different alt news groups. And to see that kind of progression for me was very cool. And so I just kind of went down this rabbit hole for the first couple of years. I just played and I lurked on Bitcoin Talk, and I traded.
What year was that?
This was 2010. And so very early, just playing. You know, by end of 2010, 2011, we had our first kind of exchanges at Mt. Gox, and then you know, BTC and Bitstamp, and many of which are all, except for Bitstamp, gone now. But it was a really wild time, and I just felt that I felt that the technology was amazing, but there was just no easy way to use it, no easy way to get your hands on Bitcoin, things like that. And so by 2012, I decided I'm going to build a business around cryptocurrency and stop making it just a hobby. 2013, I formed a company called QuickCoin, and that was my first crypto startup. Started in 2012, and then made it official, like basically quit my job in 2013, right after Bitcoin went to $265. That was really exciting for me. That was, oh my God, if it could go to 265, it could go to 2,650 or 20,000, and look, here we are, right? So that was when I quit everything, sold my previous business, and I went full time, and I launched QuickCoin in 2013. Official software launched in 2014, and that was just an easy to use Bitcoin wallet where you just click one button for your Facebook OAuth, and you could send Bitcoin over Wallpost or over Messenger, and it just exploded. It got 1 million users in a couple of weeks. And I woke up one morning, my whole Facebook feed was QuickCoin, and I had a voicemail from Sequoia Ventures. Hey, what are you doing right now? And I said, okay, this is where I want to be. This is really exciting. And I never looked back. And 8 years later, here I am.
Wow. And I know that you've also been you've been a part of or involved in quite a few other sort of known projects, such as Stellar, Dogecoin, and Block.io. And what, just to sort of like for the audience, and honestly myself as well too, to understand like what went down, like what went on during those times, what kind of like discussions were being had, because it was, you know, looking back right now, it seems that it was like we've come such a long way. So like, you know.
Yeah, it was so it was really around 2013, you know, when I went full time, that things started to really heat up. And I remember the first kind of big crypto conference was here in the Bay. It was called the San Jose Bitcoin Conference. And that was kind of the first inkling to me that, okay, I made the right decision. I made the right decision to be here. And it was still all nerds. It was still people like myself, but there were a few VCs, you know, out there in the crowd, and there were a few big corporates kind of looking around like, should we be looking at this? But they were the most innovative VCs, the most, nowadays in crypto, it's a buzzword. I see, somebody adds me on LinkedIn, I see blockchain expert, whatever, right? But 2013 is like, there's nothing like that, right? And then 2014 was when things, I would say that the V2 Bitcoin companies were really born. And V1 companies are kind of like, oh, wow. I mean, almost all of them are dead, but like Mt. Gox, Neo in the B, BitInstant, I'm naming all defunct companies to kind of give an idea of like how early this was, 2013. And then, 2014, you get your V2 companies, which are really kind of a lot of the unicorns of today, which are like Coinbase, BitPay, Bitfury, some of these really early crypto businesses. And they were inspiring a lot of people in fintech to say, okay, this could be a really amazing career path. There's unicorns coming here, but they weren't unicorns at the time. They just looked like really promising, exciting startups. And it was really kind of the time that everything was exploding. I mean, I was working on QuickCoin, and somebody messaged me in December of 2013, should I buy Dogecoin? And what is Dogecoin? And of course I Google it, and I'm like, I like this. I want to be part of this. Whatever this is, this looks fun, because it had gotten it. It went full circle from like fun hobby to serious, and then with Dogecoin right back to fun, right? And that was what really, it just got me going, right? It was like, wow, if we could inspire young kids and just people of all ages to come in here. I don't know what cryptocurrency is. Instead of being, laughed at on Reddit or a forum, oh, how do you not know it? Proof of work mining. You don't know the Shaw algorithm, or you don't know what hash cash is, or people would feel embarrassed. And then Dogecoin was, hi, I'm new to cryptocurrency. Wow, much fun. Tip 1 million Doge. We're all rich, right? But what is one Doge? One Doge equals one Doge. So we took the focus off of price, and it was a really fun time. And at the same time, when I joined Stellar, same kind of thing. It was just this really exciting time. It feels a lot like now. It kind of comes in waves. I feel like every 4 or 5 years, and I mean, we've only gone through about 2 phases of it, but it kind of gets to these really exciting moments. I would say actually every 2.5 years, you've got a big, really momentous push. And then in cycles of 2 of that, you have like institutional investment and ramping up. And I think that 2020 and 2021 is going to be kind of like the explosion of large tech companies, FANG companies, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. These companies are going to be integrating blockchain, and I know many of them already have openly declared their projects, like Facebook.
Got it. And I mean, it seems that sort of researching about it, it seems that, like, through your journey, you've I mean, because the journey itself has been so long, so long, then you've also hit a lot of roadblocks, sort of, throughout. You've really sort of managed to experience the sort of a lot of the various sort of potential punches. So what have the sort of like the learning points have been from this, or what sort of, so starting from, like, I guess legal and regulatory is the sort of the Voldemort word that should be said in crypto, right? And sort of so if you were to sort of do things again today, what would you do differently, or what have the learning points been through that?
Yeah, so with crypto, like I said, it's like one day is equal to 10. So you're moving a lot faster. I'm really proud to say, on the legal and regulatory front, there were certain things where I had to put my hand on the stove, and there were other areas where I just kind of got it right the first time. So on the legal and regulatory side, it has been challenging, right? I was one of the people that wrote a petition against the Bit license in 2014 with, I think, like 100 other crypto CEOs. And it's not that I'm against regulation, but what Bit license was kind of an onerous, kind of a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. And so I'm really against, knee-jerk reactions and trying to spread information. Regulators, and like you said, it's like the Voldemort word, but that's because many companies have kind of thrown caution to the winds and not really put the time and energy into compliance and legal, really, when you should be taking it very seriously. Unfortunately, in the US, it's one of the hardest, probably is the hardest place to launch a cryptocurrency startup, because you have 50 states and they all have different views towards cryptocurrency, crypto commodity, crypto security. So another thing too, I think, is most of the regulators out there, they're just trying to protect the public, but they may not have good information. So the best thing we can do in the space is get involved, write letters to our congressmen, congresswomen, to our senators, and also and speak on reg tech panels and things like that if you're building the tech, and talk about what is possible, what isn't possible, how you can help. And I think that plays a big part in it. With Metal, one of the first very smart things I did was hire a compliance officer as one of the first people on the team. And for a small fintech, many fintechs kind of go a little bit longer, more engineers before you bring on legal and compliance. But I would strongly urge you, if you apply to Mousebelt or to another accelerator, use the resources of the accelerator to get in touch with legal. Don't be afraid to spend some funds. In fact, one of the things I discovered, negotiate with the law firm to get some retainer, because chances are, if you're growing very quickly, you got into Mousebelt or you got into a cool accelerator, chances are law firm probably wants to take a chance on you as well. And so, for me, I've just been very proactive in it. I hired one of the first hires was a chief compliance officer from Visa. And then, moving, 4 years later, I have 2 full-time in-house counsel, and I dedicate a lot of time and energy into getting the legal part right. Even after writing so many legal opinions and things like that internally for Metal to support 30, soon to be over 30 cryptocurrencies, it was a battle, right? If you do it the right way, and there is a right way. And I realized that at a federal level in the US, we don't even have a clear guidance or framework for what different types of assets are. So I connected with Representative Gozer out of Arizona, Congressman Paul Gozer, who's a really awesome, forward-thinking politician. And we worked together to write the Cryptocurrency Act, and also with the help of Eric Finman, write the Cryptocurrency Act 2020. And we introduced that into Congress a few months ago. And these are the types of things that really can get the attention of regulators, but also get the attention of Congress to kind of change the laws. So we want to change it in the right direction instead of running away from it. That's my advice. Don't run away, don't hide, don't shirk the responsibility of anti-money laundering compliance. Jump right in and try to help where you can. If it comes down to being an expert witness or helping write a bill, or even simply just joining panels and talking about where regulation and blockchain intersect and how we can improve this. I mean, it's a tremendous opportunity. We have the first opportunity in the history of money to eliminate counterfeit currency. So we really need to be talking about that.
I noticed that you kind of had an especially literally a face off with the regulators and sort of. So what was that?
Not with the regulators,
that
with the
oh, sorry, yeah.
With other lobbyists, so when I went to Washington, Eric jokes and says, it's like Mr. Smith went to Washington, like we're 2 young guys and we don't know. I mean, Eric knows a lot about politics, but I didn't know anything about writing a bill or lobbying or anything like that. So we write this bill, and legislative counsel and other attorneys and people in the compliance space agree, wow, this is incredibly concise. Commodity, security, currency, defined at a federal level, and define what is a technical definition of a blockchain in 8 points. And it's really great. When I get to Washington, all of a sudden I get attacked on Twitter. I have other lobbyist groups saying he doesn't know what he's talking about, don't listen to him. And I'm like, wow, this is we're not all in this together, apparently. That's what I thought. But and what I discovered was that actually, sadly here in the US, is that some majority of the top lobbyist firms in DC, they're actually fighting against innovation. They're actually not here to protect the small guy. They're unfortunately paid for, donated by the largest tech companies. And I don't mind calling them out, saying Facebook and Ripple and some of these other companies are donating to firms that are lobbyist groups. I said firms, lobbyist groups that are actually preventing regulation, because what they're doing is they're buying time for larger companies to work in a regulatory nebulous space where if you're a smaller guy, you're going to spend a fortune and so much time and energy on crafting legal opinions, or you're going to break all the rules and you're going to get fined and you're going to get shut down. So, when I got to Washington, I was shocked to see, Blockchain Association and, Kristen Smith say my bill is dead on arrival and all this stuff. And, all this all these, frankly, just misinformation, but it's a game, right? It's a game in Washington. And so I felt it was really my duty to say, screw it. I don't really care what these other larger companies, what these other firms are saying about me. I'm doing the right thing for innovation, small entrepreneurs, and let's make this simple. Let's make this easy. You'd be surprised to know that, I frequently say we are all in this together in blockchain because it's such a small world. We all know each other. It's literally comprised of like several hundred, founders, and it's pretty small. Like you'll get to know them all eventually if you work long enough in this space. And we are all in this together, but at the same time, as the space grows, you're going to have larger corporates come in, and they're not necessarily looking out for the small guy. So we do need to band together and, do the right thing. Don't try to do everything in the form of self-interest. One, because it's not good marketing. It's not going to look good for you long-term. But also, if you want to truly be a thought leader in this space, help everybody raise the tide so all boats can come together. So, be proactive, talk to regulators. Don't be afraid of regulators. Engage with them, ask questions, and provide as much information as you can, because they're not just regulating Bitcoin, but they're regulating a lot of the financial regulators like FinCEN or securities like SEC or Treasury. They're just trying to figure this stuff out. They need the input of the experts of the tech people in the space to say what is and what isn't possible. And then, for example, with like FATF travel rule, it was kind of a little bit of a heavy-handed thing. At the same time, how many people are out there telling, the Financial Action Task Force what's technologically and technologically infeasible, right?
Yeah. Thanks. I mean, I really, massive respect for taking on such a fight. Because I guess we just had Mark Yusko on as well, and I think he put it like quite well as well. That like lobbyists create moats for their clients,
Yeah.
and their clients are the rich, essentially, right?
That's right.
And taking a different direction, I'd like to know more. Let's talk about a bit more about metal pay. So you guys have taken a very sort of something that you don't really see that much in crypto, which is a sort of a design-centric approach as well. So like, tell me a bit more about your sort of your design process. Sort of I read somewhere that you're this sort of we're designing for the future. So like, I'm sure that must be fun. Like, tell me more about that.
Thanks. Yeah, I think, my approach to building software, I think is, whether it's an enterprise or consumer product, is great design. I'm very inspired by Jony Ive and Steve Jobs and Apple, and, the products that are just beautiful, right? It's not about, how fast is your computer? It's think different, right? It's like a vision, right? And unfortunately, fintech, but specifically blockchain, has been plagued by really poor UX, really bad design. But it's not that we didn't want to try. It's just that we're moving, like I said, like one day is 10. So like we don't have time to worry about design. But I really started thinking about that, when I was building Metal, and I said, okay, I started this journey in like I said, in 2012, and my first kind of major app launch in 2014. And I really want to focus on design, because I think design is one of the big things that holds mainstream back. When people say, what's the killer app? The killer app is the app that does things that we do already in the real world, but better, and uses blockchain and cryptocurrency to make it easier, faster, global, more fun, accessible. And then, if any of that is ever going to take off and work, it's got to be beautiful design. It's got to be, intuitive design. And so, I set out to be one of the most, one of the highest bars in terms of design for blockchain fintech products. And, we really did that. My first designer, his name was Sid Parihar, was a designer from Apple, and he helped design the original iBooks and the Apple Watch interface and a bunch of really cool stuff. And so, right when we started, I said, I want this to be like Steve Jobs, like lick the buttons off the screen. Let's go, like beautiful. And we probably overdid it. I had like an animated background. Some earlier phones were glitching, and okay, maybe let's scale it down a little bit. But I'm proud to say today that, I think MetalPay is, in the blockchain space is leading the UX and UI design. I mean, when you see, Facebook Calibra, it's like a blatant ripoff of MetalPay UI. I love it. Thank you guys. Keep ripping me off. You're valid. You're like hitting me right in the heart. Now, if you're how big, I don't know, Facebook's like $600 billion company and you're ripping me off, I know I'm doing something right. I'm not even worth $1 billion yet. So, but that's really cool. And I think that when it comes to all products, you have to be thinking about the end user, whether it's a corporate, whether it's an enterprise client or consumer, just make it really beautiful and easy to use. You have to have a great use case and model and product, but under the hood, but what is kind of the gasoline to that fire? How do you hit mass market? How do you explode? And no one has really done this yet in cryptocurrency. I believe that I was just telling Artur before we started the interview that I think it's about to really happen. It's about to really take off this year. Some companies like Metal are about to explode. Other companies like Facebook are about to just, jump right in. Who holds more blockchain patents in well, I don't know if it's the world, but I think it is, definitely the US. Who holds more blockchain patents in the United States than anyone? Bank of America, right? MasterCard is a part of Mousebelt Peer Incubator, and they have their own blockchain. Visa is doing things with blockchain and was originally working with Chain.com when they kind of first jumped in around 2015. It's heating up. It's really heating up. And for the companies that are going to make it, they're going to have to take design seriously. Me, myself, I'm just a stickler. I just love things that are beautiful. So I really want to lead the charge on that.
I respect the humbleness, but so you mentioned that it's at the end of the day it is all about the end customer, right? And so tell me about about MetalPay. Where have you guys sort of seen the most success, or who are the customers that sort of that are the most kind of interested in this sort of products?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I mean, so MetalPay, for those that don't know, is a digital banking product. It's like Venmo, it's like Square Cash, except it's better. And we've got 30 cryptocurrencies, and it's about to become global with custodial and non-custodial features in our next version, MetalPay 3.0. And the people that are really pumped about this are it's really kind of two camps. You have people that have been in cryptocurrency for years or a year or for some time. And they want to show all their family and friends, and they're tipping people. Like I just saw a review come through in the App Store. I love that I can tip people now to their phone number with Bitcoin. I could send them $1, no fees, and they could just okay, I've got some Bitcoin now. How do I, if it goes up, how do I sell it? It's like hit sell and send to your bank account, right? That's really cool. And then you have newer people who are just jumping in. And that's really kind of one of the things that Metal was really built around, was this concept of digital dollar and also making it really easy and accessible. So inside the Metal app, we have a cryptocurrency called MTL Metal, and Metal is based around this minting mechanism called proof of process payment, which is minting currency around provable payment flows. So when you come inside MetalPay, and like for example, let's say I send Artur $100. I mint a few dollars, and Artur mints, up to 10%, 5% on either side at the USD value at the time of cryptocurrency. And so that's really cool. So we have a lot of new and beginner people coming in that's like their first time. And this is coming back to the design part. It's got to be really like, I don't know about cryptocurrency. I don't even know if I want to hit buy. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you just earned $3. Oh, you just earned $1. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, or hey, I don't even like cryptocurrency. This is a joke. I don't believe in it. It's Jamie Dimon and Oracle of Omaha told me it's a scam. It's rat poison squared. Oh, I just got $5. Oh, I just sold it to cash. Hey, this is pretty cool. I just sent it to the other side of the world in 5 seconds. Okay, now I'm interested, right? That's really where we're headed. And I think a lot of the new people coming in, they have to have that good experience. So it's really kind of a blend of both, but it's for certainly the crypto Twitter, the early adopters, Reddit people. These are the people that are getting in the app and exposing it to so many people. And then through Pomp with Metal, and soon with some of the concepts with Proton that we're building with like online checkout with just like your @ name, where I just type @Marshall and checkout instead of typing my credit card number. These are the types of things that are really attracting mainstream. So really kind of a mixture, but still as it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago or earlier. it's really the diehards like ourselves that are kind of driving it, that are seeding it and pushing it out there. I think that's kind of the way it always works with technology, right? You have like the innovators, you have the laggards, you have the mass market, and so it's like you always have some trendsetters and they're pushing it, but pretty soon, and I know that we've said this or you heard this a million times, you'll be using it and you won't even know it. You'll be using something on the blockchain, you won't even know it, and that's really kind of what we're seeing, in the beginning with Metal Pay. People are making cash payments. They're like, oh, I just heard this is a cool payments app, and it's like, oh, I just earned cryptocurrency. Oh, I hit the Discover tab and I learned about all these different types of crypto and how they work. And I've had lots of people email me and said, I discovered your app a year ago or 2 years ago, and now I work in blockchain, or I'm obsessed. I've grown my portfolio. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and like one thing which I definitely, I'm a huge supporter of these sort of like, crypto apps that are actually designed in a way that, for example, like you said, like people first getting into crypto and let's say like, want to show it to others. Because honestly, like the user experience for, for just so many of these, various like, crypto or the sort of like, especially the older like crypto apps, it seems like, you've sacrificed everything that you can just for the sake of having it, on the crypto side versus, this sort of like, anything that focuses on design, I think is so much needed in crypto. But where do you think we are sort of generally around the sort of, like you mentioned, so the like, you should be using it without knowing you're using it. Where do you think we are, or like, across the sort of in the user experience sort of journey? Because I know like, it's a combination of, yes, it's a highly technical product. The developers building them, to be able to sort of to build a scalable working product, they need to be highly technical, which means that they might not be that sort of design focused. So, but then that you do have sort of a lot of kind of technical sort of just things from the sort of like from the nature of how the technology, where the technology is, that are still kind of holding you back. Where do you think we are sort of relatively on the sort of user experience journey?
Yeah, I think, I guess there's several questions there, but, one is, where are we in this journey in terms of like using it and we don't even know that we're using it? And I would say we're pretty much already there, right? So, and here's why I would say we're already there. Only about a month ago, so maybe 3-4 weeks ago, the Chinese Communist Party, Chinese government announced the digital RMB, digital yuan. That means we're there. Because when you have governments, building these tools and introducing what I call, CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies, or, national digital currencies, that tells you government is always one of the slowest things to adopt, newer technologies, right? Next to the banks. And so when you see CBDCs and you see digital RMB, that we've kind of arrived in the sense that, within a year, within 2 years, you'll have major banks using CBDCs, and most people won't even know it, right? And then, for example, like with what Metal Team is working on more recently with Metal Pay 3.0 and our new blockchain Proton, same type of thing. We came up with this concept of, your @ name and being able to replicate the MasterCard and Visa and traditional bank payment messaging commands. All that sound is like technical mumbo jumbo because, at the end of the day, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to type my name @Marshall when I'm checking out. Metal Pay is going to pop up. I'm going to hit confirm. I'm going to go back to my website. Guess what? I'm not going to get my credit card stolen, my personal information stolen. This was really cool, very slick. The whole thing's working on Proton blockchain. Will most of the people using it know that or care? No, it doesn't really matter. It just was a really easy, it just, to the consumer, it's like, I didn't type my credit card out. I didn't type my address twice and get like a fraud alert, a text message from Wells Fargo or whatever, right? I just checked out. So it's these kinds of things that are really going to shape the landscape. It's adoption at the government level, the federal level. I just spoke to a few weeks ago. I was on a phone call with the Bureau of Fiscal Services, which is part of Treasury Department here in the United States, that they're actually the ones in charge of all the stimulus checks, so like the $1,200 stimulus checks that are coming out. And it would be exciting for many to know that Bureau of Fiscal Services is working on a distribution mechanism for stablecoin dollar using Hyperledger and Ethereum, and they've already built a whole proof of concept. So I mean, and this is
Wow.
a government agency, right? So we're there. We're at the very, very beginning. And if you were, working at PayPal, or you were working at, Wells Fargo, and you're like, man, I hate how Wells Fargo doesn't really do crypto things and they're so behind the times, just quit and come take a job at Metal. We're hiring. Go apply to Mousefelt. You were thinking about doing. I was just talking to a guy from Visa the other day, and he was saying, sometimes I think, what am I doing here? I should just quit and go do something in blockchain. That's really what I want to do. And he's like, what do you think? And I was like, what do you mean, what do I think? Of course, go do it, right? Like, don't even think about it. Like, just jump into the deep end of the pool. That's the entrepreneurial journey. And the cool thing, like I said, 1 day equals 10. It's unlike Doge, where 1 Doge equals 1 Doge. In crypto, 1 day equals 10 days. So it's a different formula there. So, you work in, that's why you see all these people that put blockchain experts. They've only worked here for 10 days. No, just kidding. But in your profile, right? But the truth is that it's like a space that you jump in, and you'll absorb so much information, because a lot of this stuff is happening right now. The new tech is being built right now. Regulations are being built right now. So if you wanted to, write your name into the cement, now's a great time to have that opportunity.
Got it. And so I know we don't have, unfortunately, we don't have too much time left. It feels like we, given your sort of your time in the space, especially given the sort of, let's say, relatively 10 years, meaning would be sort of in that analogy, 1 day, 10 days would be 100 years in crypto. Sort of, I feel like we could speak for quite a lot longer. But how is this sort of? How is the sort of let's say, like you mentioned, like you kind of started off on this sort of like on the cypherpunk side. Do you feel that still kind of like influences the sort of the metal pay sort of DNA, or like you as a person, or is it not, or do you also kind of like dynamically shift?
Yeah, so it's interesting. A lot of my friends that have the same, kind of roots and background, there's two different camps. One, and really I'm the odd bird, right? A lot of people went kind of more into the anonymous blockchain world and things like that, and I think it's very important. It's very cool. And I went in, down a path of regulatory and kind of consumer adoption, UX, and things like that. And so where I retained that kind of mentality is around the free and open source software and open technology, right? And so how do we harden something? How do we create the best cryptography? We open source, and we let every developer try to break it.
Mm-hmm.
And once you break it, we'll fix it, and break it again, we'll fix it again, we'll break it again. And that's the process of hardening and creating a really robust system. And that's why free and open source software is so important. So when it comes to Metal Pay, I really view Metal as the bank of the future, because we are a banking platform, and we give you access to all these digital assets with a very progressive look towards the future. That no, we're not going to ban you. No, we're not going to restrict you only to Bitcoin, because that's the only crypto that we think that you're capable of handling. No, we want to give you access to everything. We want this to be open source. We want it to be a global phenomenon. So for me, it really kind of stuck with me around the FOSS side, the free and open source side, and building the technologies that are going to be sort of like the banks of the future. In Europe, there's a law, I think, what's called a Payment Service Directive, PSD2, and PSD2 came into effect last year and required all European banks to have an open banking API. And that's so progressive and so forward thinking. I wish our government would do that here in the US, but that's why I got to go write congressional bills, and we got to define, we got to get involved. If you want to see a change, like, don't complain. It's democracy, right? Everybody should get involved. Don't complain if the elected people are not doing what you want. You've got to vote them in, or maybe run, if it comes down to it, go run for office or do whatever you got to do. But point is I think open source software is the future. Closed software is kind of the past, and how we evolve the internet is by using this cutting edge technology and providing it for everyone. Yes, you can take credit. You can use the MIT license, Creative Commons. There's lots of different cool licenses out there. But get involved, contribute. in computer science, I really think a big part of the kind of public service of computer science is writing some open source code. And if you haven't been involved in it, get involved, because I think that without this, the space really doesn't grow. If we all had our own little Bitcoin or blockchain in our corner, we'd basically be, flues, or we would be like, kind of the early like DigiCash or whatever. No, DigiCash was open source, right? So, or at least I think it was. But we wouldn't have Bitcoin, we wouldn't have blockchain, we wouldn't have metal today if we didn't have open source technology. So that's my piece that I took with it, which is, keep contributing to this, keep things open, and closed results in more hacks, less innovation. Open source is the way.
Got it. And so now, and I mean, this has kind of been the sort of, I guess, the topic of this entire conversation. But if you, to the sort of couple thousand students that we have watching, if you had to sort of, what would your sort of pieces of advice be to the students sort of looking at potential career in blockchain? So whether it's like computer science majors, lawyers, or business schools, and so on, what would your kind of advice to them be?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to jump in. There's definitely some books that I would read first, and I just did a podcast a few weeks ago, and we were talking about some different books, and there's 3 ones that I really like, and I would say gotta read these books. Read The Age of Cryptocurrency by Paul Vigna and Michael Casey. Read Digital Gold by Nathaniel Popper. And go read Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos. Just go pick them up and, start there. Read news, go on Reddit, read all this stuff. But when you go to build a product, find a good product market fit. Don't just build, whatever something buzzword blockchain. It'll fail, right? Find an area that you can solve that has a low NPS score, that has a low customer satisfaction, and something, if you are building a blockchain focused startup, leverage the best parts of the decentralized and open source software with the best parts of the centralized and closed elements, right? My advice would be, not everything has to be decentralized and not everything has to be centralized, right? Find a good balance and a good blend, and be creative. Don't be afraid to pivot. 1 day equals 10. So like, you can pivot 100 times faster than a normal startup, right? And there's so many engineers. Also, another thing that's become really evident to me during the pandemic and coronavirus: don't be afraid to hire remote. You're going to end up finding, and this is what I found, and all of my co-founders and everybody that I've worked with in cryptocurrency, almost all of them have been from all over the world. So my current co-founder, Glenn Marion, he's a Belgian citizen, right? And before that, my other co-founder, Mikko Atama, he's a Finnish guy, right? And so, you don't get to really choose where the talent is. And when it comes to crypto, we're really spread all over the world. And now with Corona, I would say, don't centralize, don't go and build a decentralized startup and then go about centralizing your hiring, right? Because you'll find that they don't mix. The best talent doesn't really pick where they're born, and everywhere from US to Canada to Europe to Asia, all over the world, you're gonna find people all over. So don't limit where you hunt. Be international, be global, and that really most likely will jive with your business, because in most cases, something you're building with blockchain technology is probably going to break down international borders. That's something that blockchain does really well. And so it really can be to your benefit to have co-founders and employees from all over the world.
Thank you. Those very well put. I think a lot of sort of things to take away from here, but also I think genuinely a great product worth potentially checking out for the US-based students. And so once again, thank you so much for your time, Marshall. And we hope to continue this maybe next time.
Cheers. Thanks for having me on, Artur, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Peace.
Stay tuned to learn more about the state-of-the-art in blockchain education and technological development all around the world. Reimagine 2020.